Ladies and gentlemen, I won't lie to you, I had a very good intro on the first take of this, but the audio was not recording. You would have got a little mixed in of a little football along with a little Zoe 101 for all you people born before the year 2005?
Probably, give or take.
Yeah. Zoe 101, that was a good show, though. I do miss that show.
It was.
Shame it ended the way it did, but it was good. I believe they actually did a recent reunion on Zoe 101.
Really?
I'm sure there was something, maybe like a couple of episodes. What was the guy's name with the curly hair? Dustin, I think.
Something or like.
I'm sure there was something like they were at some pizza shop or something like that. I can't remember.
First episode of Zoe 101, January 9th, 2005.
Well, yeah, so there you go. I guess anyone born before 2000, probably 2000 maybe.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, wow. God, I feel old. I'm only 26. It was kind of funny. But yeah, here we are, 2023. Happy New Year, everybody. It is, we haven't been here since the World Cup final. We took a little break because of, Christmas. May have heard of it. A lot of people celebrate it. I had a lovely break. Brett, how was yours?
It was good. It was nice to, as soon as that World Cup ended, it was just nice to take a step back and have family around.
Yeah, kind of a bit of a chill pill, Like, I wasn't all that hyped about the World Cup being around Christmas, but it was nice that it kind of led right into it. And I'm sure for all those Argentinian players, it was a little nicer for those guys. But anyways, welcome back to Kicked Back. No Caroline today, unfortunately, but she'll be back with us shortly. So today is just Brett and I, and we're not going to talk necessarily about the Premier League, about what's happening right now. If you want a bit of a score update, Leeds just scored against West Ham to make that 2-2. Former Bolton Wanderer, Rodrigo, grabs the goal.
He's a Bolton Wanderer, really?
He was a Bolton Wanderer on loan we were in the Premier League, so that would have been like 2011, I think.
Wow.
Maybe around there, yeah. So a lot of people didn't know that one, I bet. But I'll keep you up to date on the Bolton stuff. So that's 2-2. Forest are looking like they're going to beat Southampton 1-0 away from home. Southampton quickly falling apart. They took a different approach this season. It has not worked for them by any means. They currently, if they do lose this match, which it looks like they're going to, I'm sure by the time this show's ended, unless we end in 30 seconds, we'll all have a pretty good idea of what happened. But bottom of the league with 12 points. We'll get into that kind of stuff. Wolves, big win over Aston Villa as well. And then also Tottenham beating Crystal Palace. But right now, we are talking about the questions surrounding the Premiership. So that's where I kind of wanted to go today is we're back in the Premier League now. There's a lot of stuff that has happened which we may have forgot about when the World Cup was going on. So we're going to dive into a few of those questions today. Bit of a different formula, but we're going to start right at the top, Brett. Arsenal. For a long time, people were really unsure what this team was. And now, here they are. 17 games played, 1 loss, which came against United, and then 2 draws. One of them came yesterday against Newcastle. But 44 points, City, game in hand, 36. My only thing with Arsenal, and I've been on the Arsenal train since probably the start of the season, I'm a little surprised it's not closer, but that's more on City than Arsenal. And my only quirk with them is like, have they played enough good opponents? Because have they played City? I can't even remember.
I believe they did, and I believe it was a draw, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a draw.
Yeah.
I'm just looking. So, yeah, they lost to United, obviously. They've beaten Leicester at the start of the season, which felt like a big win at the start of the year. They've beat Tottenham, beat Liverpool, drew against Southampton, which was a little alarming, I guess. Beat Chelsea again. I'm just looking. They haven't played City yet.
They haven't, eh?
So they play City on the February the 15th, and then also on April 26th.
Ooh.
So we have 2 title matches on the line there. So here's my question, Brett. 1, do you finally believe in Arsenal? 2, this is their upcoming schedule. So I guess this is not really a question. It's part of the thing. I think this is when we're really going to get a good idea what this team is. Next match, Tottenham away. Massive game. United at home. Everton away. Brentford, who absolutely dominate the top 6. And then City. You have to imagine within there somewhere, you're going to really dig in and find out what this team's about.
And that's the next 5 games, yeah?
That is the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the only soft game they have is Everton.
Yeah. And some people would make the argument for Brentford, but Brentford are giant killers right now. Look at what they just did to Liverpool. Yes, Liverpool, you can talk about whatever you want with Liverpool, but Brentford, Thomas Frank, I think I've been saying this since last year. I think he's one of the better managers in the Prem right now. My thing as well with Liverpool is they're fragile. They haven't been where they are before. They're young. Gabriel Jesus is hurt for however long he's going to be.
Not Liverpool.
What's that?
You said Liverpool.
Did I say that?
Yeah,
yes.
That's okay. I just want to make sure we're all aware.
Thank you. I do that often. But yes, Gabriel Jesus is hurt as well, and they don't really have is Eddie Nketiah.
See, that's part of it too. Is people said they were going to start losing games because they didn't have the depth. So Thomas Partey's missed games. They didn't lose, and now they have, like you said, Jesus. I can't remember the timeline on him exactly, but we're saying that Eddie Nketiah came in. 1 goal against West Ham, and then what? Did they have 2 against Brighton? If I'm remembering, just 1 against Brighton. But he's come in and he's made a difference, and it's very interesting because expectations for Arsenal at the start of the season were make Champions League. That was it. That would have been perfect for everybody. But now here they are, and like I said, I think this next chunk is going to really determine what they are, because it's also, luckily for them, there is no European football within that. So I think if there was European football games mixed in that would have been way more challenging. But their first European match isn't until
February.
Yeah, I'm trying to. For some reason, it's not on this list.
Europa League. So that would have been. That's the thing too, is that Champions League doesn't start up, European football doesn't start up for a little while now too. As you mentioned, they will most of their key players have also didn't go to the World Cup.
So many.
So
Odegaard didn't go.
Saka played a whole bunch, but he still came home early.
Ramsdale didn't play a minute. Saliba didn't play a ton for France. Yeah, there's a lot of guys too, like Zinchenko as well.
Odegaard.
Odegaard. That's a good point actually, because that's what a lot of people were saying for Liverpool was no more Salah going. It's like, well, that doesn't help him so far out of the gates, and we'll definitely be talking about Liverpool a little bit later on. But the reason there's no European football is because they don't have a draw yet, because they got the first round bye in the Europa League. So the first set of Europa League games is February 16th, and that's when they actually play City on the 15th. So that's kind of it. And then after that, they have Villa, Leicester, Bournemouth, Fulham, Palace, Leeds. So that March is pretty good for them. March is good for them. I'll just continue to go a little bit. Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Newcastle, all in April. So they've got a lot. A lot has got to go right for Arsenal. Do I think they're going to walk away with 1 loss on this season? Absolutely not. What is your prediction for the next 5 games? How do you think they'll do? So I'll repeat it. Tottenham away, United at home, Everton away, Brentford at home, City at home.
So out of a possible 15 points.
Yep.
You know what? And since the last time that they've played United's gotten better too.
Oh yeah.
Eric Ten Hag has really whipped that team into shape.
Yep.
They could have a striker, which we'll talk about later on potentially too. They are a different team too. Brentford, as mentioned, were the giant killers against Liverpool and have been all year. I could see them walking out with a minimum of 7 points, I would say. Because my big question, Tottenham is the biggest question mark for me.
You think so?
I do think
so. Derby, or you think Tottenham's ability?
They're so hit or miss.
Yeah,
Conte
really
is so a hit or miss. Not Conte. I think just the club in general.
I think everything involved in Tottenham is an absolute shambles, to be honest. But I got some thoughts on them as well. So sorry, continue with Arsenal.
But and that's the thing. So they're so hit or miss. Sometimes they can come out and look like a top level team, or sometimes they'll come out and look like a mid table team. So I think a minimum of 7 points for them, and I think 10 points will be where they walk out of.
10 points.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get back to where I was here so I can go through this one team at one. I think they'll beat Tottenham at White Hart Lane, or whatever it's called now. It's not even called that. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I think it is.
Yeah.
Bring back White Hart Lane. Because Tottenham don't win big games. I don't believe in them. That's 3 points. United at the Emirates, I think that is going to be fantastic game. United in form. Arsenal, obviously in form. Draw.
Yeah.
2-2. That's my prediction. So that's 4 points. Everton, whatever. 3 points. I don't know what score it will be. I think they'll just beat Everton because they're rubbish. Now, Brentford versus Arsenal. For me, this is the game that's a bit of a challenge. Brentford just beat Liverpool on Monday 3-1. They've also beat City at the City of... it's not called the City of Manchester. Holy... Zoe 101 talk is taking me back to the early 2000s. Yeah. City of Manchester Stadium, White Hart Lane, Arsenal back at Highbury. Holy smokes. So this is Brentford against the top 6 this year. They've beat Liverpool, drew against Tottenham, and this is all like very recent too, within the league fixtures. They beat City right before the break at City. They drew against Chelsea, and there was one other one. Oh, they obviously beat United at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I am going to go... this is a tough one. I think Arsenal will win. I do think Arsenal will win. If this was away, I would think a little bit differently. I think Arsenal will win this one, and then I think they'll lose against City. Just to add a little spice to the title race. But to answer the original question was, are Arsenal legit? Yes. We need to end this idea of Arsenal, they're going to eventually fall off. They're going to lose. We're going to lose players, and now we're going to lose games. It's like, no, this team is the real deal. They should have beat Newcastle yesterday. They probably should have had 2 penalties. And, yeah, Newcastle's 3rd in the Premier League. So, Arsenal are real, and that's, 3, 4, 7, 10 points.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
10 points.
10
That's
points.
fair. So then, and this is why I think they're fragile to kind of wrap up. So you think they will keep the top of the Premier League?
I think they'll compete, yeah.
Okay,
I think them the City is... The result against City is going to matter more than any other result so far this season.
Yeah.
If they win that game, everyone's got to shut up.
Yeah.
I don't think they will. It's It's like Pep's basically taught Arteta everything he knows, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe they will. I mean, it is at the Emirates. That's such a tough one.
But that's why I think they're fragile. You mentioned that Arteta is kind of Pep's little protege, I guess. You saw how he acted after the Newcastle match. Newcastle
did not like that.
Okay, so then we can get into that too. But that's kind of where I'm getting to. Is like he's getting worked up. Yes, Newcastle's 3rd in the Premier League.
Yeah,
but they're going to be. This is January.
True.
Look at the fixtures they have in April.
Yeah.
Can they keep it together? They're a young team. They're a temperamental team. Hell, their emotional leader is Granit Xhaka. I mean, not a lot of discipline being tossed around in that place. Do you think that might bite them in the butt later on?
The inexperience is something that maybe will challenge them at some point. But also at this point, they're in a spot where, again, the expectations within the club, I'm sure, are high. But like on the outside, like no one thought they were going to be here. So for me, like, yeah, I think that's going to play into it. We'll see. There is a lot of experience within that team in certain areas too. Like Odegaard seems like a fairly level-headed guy. Ramsdale kind of keeps it very light, doesn't he? He's fun to be around. So I think it'll be all right. Zinchenko's been there. You know, not in like a lead role at City, but he was there. Like he's been around. Thomas Partey plays a big role. He did with Ghana at the World Cup too. So to answer the question, Brett, are you in or are you out on Arsenal being legit this season.
I'm in.
All right. I think at this point, you kind of got to be.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody else. Okay. So, as we were talking, Tottenham scored 2 goals.
So, 2 goals.
Yeah, so they're 2 goals. So, here's my next question. And this one, let me just pull it up here so I can make sure I get it correct. There's a certain amount of teams in this league for me that at this moment in time, terrible.
Yeah.
Terribly, terrible. All of them. Just like, where are they right now? Like, what are these teams in no man's land? I'll read off the teams I'm talking about. And you should probably assume at this point. And it's weird to say it because they're higher up the league, but they're just like, shouldn't be where they are. Tottenham.
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
Chelsea. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Like, we won't talk about them in depth, but like Leicester shouldn't be in 13th. Like they should have. I understand the season they've had, but that team shouldn't be where they are. They have got too much talent in there to be where they are. Also, like West Ham in 18th. What is going on there?
Everton too, basically looking like a shoe-in for a relegation spot too.
Yeah, and I think they'll go down, to be honest.
Yeah.
So we'll get onto the relegation battle because I think it's like there's so many like from 13th to 20th, 17th in 17 points is Leicester in 13th, 20th is Southampton.
Yeah, like any one fixture can put you into a relegation spot. Just one.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Forest just won the game, and now they're 2 points out of a relegation spot.
2 points.
They were just in, though.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like it's crazy stuff like that.
And you mentioned Leicester City, though. I had at the start of the season.
I know. I disagreed.
Yeah.
I disagreed.
That's right. Yes. And now we're sitting here going, potentially a relegation battle. But, I mean, Vardy wasn't even starting in their last match.
Yeah.
Needed him. And then he was brought in. And look at the impact he had. But still, I go to this quite often. You have guys like Yuri Tielemans who know they're already a foot out the door.
Yeah.
James Maddison, potentially the same thing. We'll see with his injury now. But you have a ton of guys who you don't even... I mean, you are in a sorry spot when Danny Ward is your keeper.
Yeah, and they put themselves in that spot too. They had a little bit of time, not a lot of time, but they had time to sign a new goalie, and they chose not to. And I would imagine, like, we're in a January transfer window now. Like, you've gotta go and find a new goalie. But anyway, like, I guess moving on to the other bigger teams that were kind of in that group, Tottenham, man, like, sure, they won 4-0 today, or winning 4-0 as they sold 77 at the 77-minute mark away at Selhurst Park. I just the inconsistency of this team is quite remarkable. They've allowed the first goal, I believe, in 9 of the last 10 games. This would kind of end that streak. But just look at the talent on that squad. You got Hugo Lloris. I get it. He's not where he was a few years ago. Still a good goalie. Say what you want. Just went to the World Cup final with France. Eric Dyer's having a turnaround season. Cristiano Romero just won the World Cup. Who else we got in here? Son, underperforming. Højbjerg, he's been all right. Bentancur, he's been actually had a decent season. But then Harry Kane, yep. But how much can you expect him just to carry? Like, this team should be comfortably, like, winning. Like, don't win big games, Brett. They do not win big games. They lost to Villa last week. They've lost to Forest this season. So it's big games they've lost. Liverpool, Newcastle, United. Where else are we? Arsenal. They drew against Chelsea, which they should have lost because I should have. It was Romero pulled Cucurella's hair, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that should not have been allowed. So they literally any team they've played with in the top 6, they've lost. How is that sustainable? Like, how do they expect to finish within the top 6 if they can't even beat teams around them? Fulham's in 7th with 28 points, and Tottenham's in 5th with 33rd. I'm not saying Fulham's going to overtake them, but also, why can't they? It's just wild. I don't know. There's a lot that needs to be changing in Tottenham, and Conte, as great as a manager he is, sometimes you got to put it on the manager as well. The players can only take you so far, especially when you see some of the stuff they're doing, like against Villa the other day, that first, was it the first or second? Whichever one, like, Lloris spilled. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I believe it was the second one.
Okay, so your goalie makes a mistake. Happens. Don't expect it to happen all the time, obviously. But, like, if you look at the video of it, of, like, when he scores, like, Romero and I think it was, is it Doherty or whoever it was, both just stood there.
Yeah.
The play isn't over, boys. Like, go and get that ball and clear it. You are the defenders. Defend. And they're just not. And there's other little things, too. Like, just the way they play. It's just, they don't play a possession game, but they have personnel to do it. And they're, like, spending all this money on guys who aren't even playing. Like, Richarlison scored more goals at the World Cup than he has scored in the Premier League for Tottenham this season.
That's messed up.
What days? They 60 million on him?
Oh, so much.
Like,
way too much. Not way too much. Like, way too much for him to be sitting on the bench.
Yeah, there it is. 52 million, sorry. Maybe with add-ons it was around 60.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Spence doesn't play.
No.
Basuma's been kind of hit or miss. I don't know. Like, what are you kind of thinking with Tottenham?
So, you're kind of bringing up the point, and, like, the counter question that I was going to ask you was, how much of it do you now sit there and go, because it's regime to regime, and when I say regime to regime, it's not the front office.
Yep.
It's the coaches.
Manager after manager after manager.
Right?
It's a carousel. Every single year, Tottenham is the team that you look at, and they're like, oh, wow, they've got some players. Harry Kane's one of the best strikers in the world. Son literally won the Player of the Year in the Premier League last year.
Golden Boot last year.
Yeah, sorry, Golden Boot. Yeah, that was it.
He tied it with.
And it's just like, how are you not? Is competing for the league too much? I think they should be in third place. I think they're probably a comfortable top 4 team with the squad they have, and here they are once again fighting for a spot. And I get it, the Premier League's competitive. But their squad is better than Newcastle.
Oh, absolutely.
And Newcastle, for me, they have 1 loss this season.
They also brought in Langley, too.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that. Ivan Perisic is in that side, too. Like,
yep.
And so then that is where I was going with that, is that you bring in fantastic players each and every transfer window because you have an owner or guy who's running it who will, in Levy, most times.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
They always bring in big names, though.
But that's it. Exactly. But then also the fact that Maurizio Pochettino has been your most successful manager of the last X amount of years.
Yeah.
Out of the last couple of squads, too, you could argue was a ragtag team. A team that should not have been where they ended up going.
Well, doesn't it also speak something to, like... So, Dele Alli. Dele Alli is one of the biggest what-ifs. Not just in English football, but world football. That man was doing everything. Everything was going perfect. He was, like, primed for a fantastic England career, scoring massive goals in the Premier League, Champions League, even the World Cup. He got a goal in the World Cup, which was big, too. And now here he is in Besiktas, and I can't remember the exact quote from the Besiktas. I can't remember if it was a manager or like chairman or something like that. But he basically said, like, there's no fixing this guy anymore.
Really?
Like, he was just like, he's just kind of in his own head. Like, there's not much anyone can do, which is just like a massive, massive shame. Because you have him up there, I think he's like 25, 26. Like,
he's 26 years old.
26, yeah. Like, I remember when he signed actually from MK Dons. That was something. But anyway, my point is like, you have Pochettino, who got the best out of him and got the best out of that squad. They went to a Champions League final.
Yes.
For goodness sakes. And then after that, you have, who'd they have? Mourinho's been there. I'm trying to pull it up here. But Mourinho, not Pochettino, Conte. So this is it. Since Pochettino, Jose Mourinho, Ryan Mason was a caretaker, whatever. Santo. Nuno Santo, who got the best out of all his Wolves players too. And then Conte. And here you are, still in the exact same spot that you left when Pochettino was there, but it seemed a lot better when he was around. So, yeah, Tottenham, underachieving, to say the least. And it's funny to say that because they're in 5th, but I think they should be better than what they are. Consistency is their biggest issue. Liverpool. Man, what is... I'll just ask you this before I kind of dive into it. So obviously Liverpool's last match, they lost 3-1 to Brentford. Mm-hmm. What is the issue? What do you think it is that is not just in that Brentford match, but just in general that has plagued them? Because there's a lot of, I don't want to call them excuses, but they're excuses, but they're legit to me. Like, some of them you can go far with, but what do you think it is about this Liverpool team that's missing, I guess you could say? Like, is the loss of Sadio Mane that big that they're currently so far off the race? They're almost 10 points behind City in second with a game in hand.
Excuse me. Yeah, no, and that's where I sit here and question. It could be Sane. I'm looking at their team and just staring, going, where is the issue? I mean, look at Virgil van Dijk was taken off at halftime against Brentford.
Yeah.
In a match they were losing. And 2-0. I'm pretty sure it was 2-0 at the half.
I'm pulling it up here. Yeah, it was 2-0 at the half. 19th minute own goal, and then Brentford scored right before the half too.
And you're sitting here going and looking at this team and go, okay, injuries to Artur, Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota.
Yeah, and then you also have Thiago. Wow, Brett is struggling, guys. He'll be okay. He's got his hands.
I'm being possessed. It's coming out my throat.
And we're back. We had to take a quick break because I wasn't sure what was happening to Brett, to be honest. But I guess that's what happens when you talk to the biggest choke artist, Liverpool.
I thought that was going to be a United joke there for a second.
That was a Liverpool one. But that's okay. The Liverpool. So I guess my final thought on them is this. The injuries have been an issue. There's no denying that. I think that's a fair excuse for when they happened in the season. It was kind of close to the start of the year. You mentioned Thiago. There was a bunch of players that went out, wasn't there? Like, I felt like everyone was gone. Like, Nunez got suspended. Like, there was so many guys. The second one I have is your new signings have got to adjust to the league. We're all very critical of Darwin Nunez. I think in some aspects it's fair. I don't think he's been as bad as people make him out to be. He's just has that price tag of 80 million. But he has 5 goals in the Premier League this season. 13 matches. It's not horrible. That is not horrible. That first game of the year, when he came on against Fulham, made a big difference. He was very good. So I think it's we're a bit critical of Darwin Nunez. Overly critical, I think. But do you know what? One thing that hasn't helped him is the fact Erling Haaland has come into this league and been absolutely dominant. But that is what it is.
You know what also doesn't help as well is that price tag.
Oh, it's the biggest issue for him. And the thing that kind of stands out for me with Nunez is besides Southampton, he's just 5 goals and they've come in 4 different games. So he's kind of like contributing. He's not just like, he doesn't have a hat-trick and 2 goals. He's contributed big in 4 games. I know that's not a lot when you're paid that much and you want to see more, but I think it's going to come. Like, he's still a young man. Like, what is he, 23?
Yeah.
Just into the league, it's a big difference. And the biggest example of his inexperience was when he got red carded for headbutting Anderson. Like, teams are going to be aggressive on you, and that was a lesson learned. I think he'll be fine. And the final one for me is a legit excuse, and this comes with the lack of depth this team has, is fatigue.
Yeah.
They played the maximum amount of games last season, which is an accomplishment within itself. I'm sure they wish they would have come away with more trophies, but you got to be there to play. And they were there to play. And that's something. So, Liverpool, underachieving, there's no denying it. But I don't think it's illegitimate. I think it's fair enough for kind of obviously want to be higher for themselves. Their biggest issue is going to be trying to find some consistency. So let's have a quick look at the games coming up. So since coming back from the break, they beat Villa, good win. Beat Leicester, good win, 2-1. Then you lose to Brentford, who just kill everyone in the top 6 again. But then you have Wolves next, Brighton, which is a difficult game, Chelsea, and then Wolves again. Wolves is in the FA Cup, sorry. So then you have the Merseyside derby on February 13th, which is, it's not an easy set of games, and also mixed in there for a little bit of fun, Real Madrid.
Oh,
So,
easy.
so that's enjoyable. They do need to make some signings in January, specifically in the midfield.
Well, Cody Gakpo's already there.
I was going to get to him quickly, but before that, Harvey Elliott isn't good enough right now to be playing every single match. You know what? That's just not fair on him. He's a young player. I think he's going to have a very good career. I'm sure we all do. But, like, Thiago, Fabinho's underachieved. Henderson's been decent for them. Like, there's no denying it. But you need an extra midfielder. You really do. You need someone to come in and help out.
I'm looking at transfer market for potential rumors that they've been tied to.
Amrabat is on there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want him? I don't know. Like, he's interesting. He had a fantastic World Cup. He was one of the best players at the World Cup. But do you want someone based off a 7-game tournament?
I don't think it's based off the tournament as well. He's been playing quite well.
He has been good, for sure. But I don't know if he's been as good as he was at that tournament, if that makes sense.
That's fair. I think that's fair. But you also have to take a look at the competition and who he's playing against is the same thing as competition. But have to take a look at how well he played against those guys, right?
Yep.
So I think he could definitely step in and help, especially under the management there too. Marcus Nunez as well from Wolves, who's been in the Premier League, who's been playing in the Premier League too.
Who else is on there? I'm trying to
Manu Kone, who has a market value of 25.
Ismail Kone?
No, I wish. Soon, one day. Yeah. But you know who else who I'm just reading here too? Alexis McAllister.
Really? Well, Brighton are competing with Liverpool for a Europa League spot.
Yeah.
So are Brighton going to want to sell to one of their close league rivals?
And Moises Caicedo, too. Both of those guys for Brighton, they might be fighting for.
I think Brighton will lose them in the summer.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll do it right now because they would just... So here's the deal, quickly, and then I want to talk about Chelsea. Brighton sells those two players, McAllister and Caicedo. Your Europa League chances are probably out of the window.
Yeah.
You get to the Europa League by the end of... you keep them both and you qualify for Europe next season. That is going to help you then sign better players or players with that money in the summer. I can't see... They could sell one. I don't see them selling two. And, yeah, I mean, Brighton, since they've been in the Premier League, they've done a great job. 9th last season.
Mm-hmm.
Where were they the year before? I'm sure they were top half finish the year before that too. 16th. But the last two seasons they've turned it up, and yeah, I could see Brighton summer. I could see those guys, but not right now.
And that's what. Just real quick, just to on that sentiment. Brighton coach Roberto De Zerbi. I don't know how to say.
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't figured him out.
He says, I hope we'll be able to keep both Moises Caicedo and Alex McAllister, he says in this one, at the club in January. That's all I want. I'd like to keep all our players until the end of the season.
I think that's a good decision. You've got, with Brighton, new manager, obviously. You want to figure it out with him. You got to give him time to get used to living in Brighton, first of all, being around the players. You don't want to just ship out your two best players right now whilst things are kind of getting into a good spot. You're in a great spot. You're in a historic spot.
Yeah.
You have Brighton and Hove Albion. I remember when they used to play in a stadium that literally the stands would like roll away. They were in like this temporary stadium. It was, when they were getting their new stadium built, it was basically, let's see if I can pull it up here quickly.
They were rolling away?
They not legit rolling away, but like.
I could see it though.
They were like.
On wheels or something?
It was just like bleachers. They were just bleachers just in there. It was really weird. It was
Clark Park.
Clark Park, yeah, essentially. It was, I think it's this one. Yeah, you can kind of see. With Dean Stadium. Yeah, they were just literally someone made a field. And yeah, there you go. It was a while ago, like early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s, and yeah. But now they're here. It's fantastic. It's good to see these football clubs kind of get where they are. Them, Bournemouth, and I want Brentford too. But anyway, the last team I wanted to talk about in this category before we get on to another one. I feel like we're lingering around. I've only got through 2 questions. I had 5. What do we have for time? Minus like 10 minutes for your cough attack.
Yeah, 36.
So about half an hour.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a lot of time, I guess. Chelsea. So I'll just go on them quickly. They are splashing the cash, to say the least. Their new owner, Todd Bowley, is trying to leave his mark on this team. They've bought every man and his dog this season. Fofana, Kukurea, Sterling, Koulibaly. Now they're spending like over 100 million on Enzo Fernandez. Great player. Great player. I don't think that's the issue there. That's any issue there, sorry. Aubameyang, I didn't like that when it happened. And the issue is still there for Chelsea. They do not have a striker. They do not have a striker who can score them goals. I don't understand how they have 20 goals this season. Here's teams with fewer goals than Chelsea this season. Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Everton, Southampton, and Wolves.
And where are those teams in the
They're
table?
all below them.
Huh.
All below them. Nobody in the top half has... United have the fewest goals in the top half of 27. So for Chelsea to catch up, they would have to score 10 more goals to catch up. The only thing that's saving them is they don't concede a lot. 18 goals allowed this season.
Fair.
They've got a good... Defensively, they're good. Thiago Silva is leading that back line very well. But for me, buy a striker. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
What are you waiting for? It is so blatantly clear that the issue is you cannot score goals. You have everything else.
Well, Ronaldo was sitting right there for free.
They could have had him for free. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I want to talk about Ronaldo. Today, I haven't got to that point yet in the show where I'm scrambling for stuff. But Kai Havertz has 4 goals. Okay? He's never been like a prolific goal scorer. You kind of know like he wants to be the guy that sits behind the striker to help out a little bit.
Yeah.
Or sends in the wingers and stuff, and it's just not working. Sterling has 4 goals. He was supposed to come in and help out your goal situation. I would say he has to an extent. Like he has 4 goals as a winger, center striker, whatever you kind of want to call him. Mount has 3. Janino has 2, both penalties. And then everyone else just has 1. Aubameyang has 1 goal this season. Reece James, 1 goal. Conor Gallagher, Pulisic. Like, that's not good enough. And the fact they're just going out and spending money on... Hey, I'm not saying Enzo Fernandez is a bad signing. Because he's obviously not. But the issue lies with who's Enzo Hernandez passing the ball to send him through and give him goals? The answer is nobody.
Kai Havertz?
Yeah, because every striker you buy just dwindles away. Strikers go to die at Chelsea. There has not been one striker that has been legit since Didier Drogba.
Yeah.
I literally can't think of any. Torres died there.
Yeah.
Timo Werner wasn't great there.
And you know, it's funny. I pulled up Werner as well. Oh, Lukaku too. Like
Yeah,
that,
fell
he's
apart.
Lukaku. I'm looking at Timo Werner. Want to know something funny in league play?
Diego Costa. That's who I was thinking.
Yes,
That's what I was
yes, that's a good call.
Yeah.
Who's in the Premier League?
He's back. Yeah.
I'm looking at Timo Werner's stats in the Bundesliga alone: 4 goals. Champions League, 2 goals. The DFB Pokal, 3 goals, and in the Nations League, he had 2 goals as well for Germany. All told, this year, 11 goals
For Werner.
for Timo Werner.
I'm telling you. Sorry, I missed one other striker. Tammy Abraham.
Oh yeah,
But
there
guess
you
what
go.
they did? They sold him for Kai Havertz.
Yeah, exactly. And how did Tammy Abraham do last year?
He had a very good season.
Yep.
He was the last. Tammy Abraham, I'm just going to check this one more time. Yes. Tammy Abraham was the last striker to score more than 10 goals in the Premier League for Chelsea, and that was in 2020.
Wow.
So that's been, I guess, 3. We're in the 3rd season now.
That's a shame.
I don't see there's nobody scoring 10 goals in their team this year as a striker because they don't have one.
Yeah.
But before that, Hazard had his kind of little run there, 16 goals, but again, not a striker. The highest scoring striker in 2019 were Morata and Higuain with 5 each. Forgot Morata even played for them, to be honest.
Too.
Before that, Morata had 11 in the season. And then close to him was Giroud at 7.
Shout out Giroud
Shout
playing
out
at Chelsea
Giroud.
too.
Plays for the biggest clubs in the world.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable.
Literally, and then he's going to go to LAFC.
I feel there's nobody... Graham Potter is David Moyes.
Oh.
And I hate to say it.
Why?
In the sense of he was at a club where he was overachieving in Brighton. David Moyes did it for years, did it for much longer with Everton. Goes to United, fans are already on top of him for Potter at Chelsea, and they want him gone. Has he been there 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Like the World Cup went on longer
Give or take.
and then Graham Potter's actually managed games for Chelsea. So it's just like, holy smokes. Like that result against Forest was poor. Nottingham Forest. Like I know it was at home and everything, but like, come on.
It's still Forest who lost, 3-0 to United the game before?
Yep. So this was, Chelsea had an opportunity to start this next part of the season with a couple of wins. They beat Bournemouth 2-0. Good. Well done. Come back from the break. Havertz and Mount both get the goals. Havertz only had 3 goals before the break.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you draw against Forest. These are their next run of games. City tomorrow at home at Stamford Bridge. Then you have your derby match against Fulham. Derby matches aren't easy. Fulham have been good this season. They're actually higher than you in the table.
Mm-hmm.
Palace, who just got battered today, they've had a piss poor start since coming back to. What did they lose? They lost, I know they beat Bournemouth, but they lost 3-0 to Fulham as well at home. So both their home games they've lost 3-0 and 4-0. They got red cards in that Fulham game, so maybe that changes it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
After Palace, you have Liverpool, then you have Fulham again, then you have West Ham. And then, you know what, just to add on it, you have Southampton, who's already beat you this season, then you play Tottenham. Oh, boy.
How far can they fall?
I don't think they'll get close to Champions League this year.
Yeah.
They are already 10 points back of United. 10 points back of United. They do have a game in hand. They've only played 16 games, whilst the most in the league, like Newcastle played 18.
Oh, okay.
So got a couple of games in hand, which gets you right back in there, I suppose. But also, it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy at all. So
my final thing with Chelsea is the injuries too. We talk about injuries with Liverpool. I think they're in it worse. Or I think Chelsea's in it worse than Liverpool. Fofana's out, Chilwell, Reece James, N'Golo Kante, and Broja went down as well.
that sucked.
Yeah.
That was a tough one. He looked promising. He was really good with Southampton.
Yeah.
When he was there. But my only counter to that would be, Brett, is, so who were the full? You said Reece James and Chilwell both out. Well, you spent all that money on Cucurella.
True.
He should be good enough to slide. This is a fairly deep squad in certain areas, especially defensively. Like if Thiago or Koulibaly go down, sure, you got a bit of a hole there. But fullbacks, Azpilicueta is your club captain, not where he was, but an experienced player, and then Cucurella, who is what? He's very young. He's not very young, was he? He's 24.
He's 24.
He's 24.
Really?
So yeah, I don't buy that much with them as much as I did with Liverpool.
Fair. See, and I'm trying to find how they normally line up here, because if I'm not mistaken, Cucurella doesn't necessarily start too often.
No, he doesn't play a lot. He started the last match. So I'll go back to the first game of the season. They had Mendy was in goal, back three of Koulibaly, Thiago Silva, Azpilicueta, and the wing back were Chilwell and James. Centre mids, Kante's been a loss for them. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't be that big. Shouldn't be a massive hole.
Well, he's not that big.
He's not. He's a small man. Great football player. Janino, Conte in the middle, Sterling, Mount as your kind of wingers, attacking mids, whatever you want to call them, and Kai Havertz as your number 9. It's a good team. It's a very good team.
This team
should, especially at the start of the season when Thomas Tuchel was your manager.
Yes.
You should be competing for the league.
And then they fire him and they go, and they're still continuing here. They must be sitting there going, oh, like we had Tuchel. Cucurella has started in the starting 11 81% of the time so far. So has had 72% of the minutes.
There you go. So out of those 3 teams, this is how I'll wrap up the question. One out of so I guess we'll leave Leicester out of it because they're just what they are. Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea. Who's underachieving the most?
Chelsea.
Those 3 teams. Who has the most capability of bringing it back and finishes in the season successfully?
Liverpool, and the one reason why, and we didn't talk about this, is Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, maybe it's the issue.
That is the other thing that I was going to mention too.
The year 7 of Klopp.
Mm-hmm.
He's not been good. He's not been good at many teams. My answers are Chelsea and Chelsea.
Oh,
I'm going to go double whammy. I think Graham Potter is a good enough manager to turn this around.
Right.
The World Cup break came out like a bit of an awkward time. But if you actually look back, I'm just trying to find his exact record here with Chelsea. Let's see here. So he... okay. First game is against Salzburg. So they drew. But then they only conceded... Like, they draw against Liverpool. Beat Milan in the Champions League twice. Beat Wolves. Beat Villa. Didn't concede. Drew against United. Lost 1-0 to Arsenal. Lost 2-0 to City in the Cup. Lost to Newcastle. Like, it's been like this like last 5 games of the actual like before even like take the World Cup out of it. That 5-game gap. It's just been a bit of a struggle with them. But I think they'll turn it around. I think they got a good squad. All right. What's my other question I got here for you, Brett? Who's going down?
Oh, this one's potentially my favorite question.
Well, we won't spend too much time on this one because I have a couple other good ones I want to get. And you have some questions too, right? I'll make a couple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll try and breeze through this a little bit. I feel like we spent a lot of time on those teams, but there's so much to talk about with them. So right now, I think the relegation scrap is between the 13th in Leicester. So obviously Southampton in last.
Yeah.
So I'll read it out for you quickly. So everyone's played 18 games besides Leeds, who is that match over?
It's just turned full.
So yeah, they should be fully updated then. So everyone's played 18 besides Leeds. So Leicester have 17 points. 14th is Leeds, 17. Forest with 17 in 15th. Bournemouth have 16 points in 16th. West Ham 15 and 17th. And then your bottom 3 is Everton with 15 points, Wolves with 14, Southampton with 12. So, here's a couple of things. One thing I want to just throw out there just before you give your answer. Mateus Cunha is going to Wolves. I can't remember the price tag, but it sounds like around 40 to 50 million or something like that. That's going to help them because they're the lowest scoring team in the league. They just can't score goals. The Raul Jimenez injury, which was horrible, he's never come back and he's never been the same. And it sucks because he was a lot of fun to watch in the Premiership. He's just not there anymore, unfortunately. But they have a lot of talent on that squad. Southampton just got a new manager in Jones, I believe his name is, from Luton. Yeah, Nathan Jones. Is he good enough for the Premier League? Who knows? Did a lot of good stuff with Luton. Everton, underachieving massively. Actually, I don't know if they are. They're a weird one. We'll touch on them. West Ham are underachieving massively. Good season last year. Bournemouth turned it around a little bit with Gary O'Neill. Forest figuring it out. Are all those signings from the summer finally coming together for them? Leeds, up and down, had some good wins, but not finding consistency. Leicester, Danny Ward.
Yeah. And with Wolves, they just drew with Villa.
Oh, they did draw.
They just drew. So they now sit 19th. And I'm sitting because when we started, they sat or Everton was 19th. So we're sitting. This scoring for Wolves concerns me.
Yep, me
especially
too.
Down the stretch.
Who played striker for them today, actually? Diego Costa.
Yeah, there you go. I rest my case.
Yeah.
I don't need to say too much anymore after that because and you mentioned Raul Jimenez. I said from the start of this season I was not convinced with Wolves, and if I'm not mistaken, they did. Who was their manager? Bruno Lage, and he got the sack. So I think Wolves have been sitting here for a while, and that's the unfortunate thing too, is that they have a lot of really. I don't get it. This is what I don't get, is that Wolves should be better.
Well, it was only like 2 or 3 years ago. They played like 64 games in the league because they went so far in Europe.
Wow.
Yeah, it was something crazy. They maybe not high, but they definitely hit the 60 mark.
That's insane.
Yeah,
but
it was nuts.
And they have good players though. Ruben Neves, Adama Traore. They have some young players too coming up, and you sit here and go, "What?" Jose Sa. They have a fantastic goalkeeper too, but
people were saying he was the best goalie in the league last season.
exactly. And why are they here? So I think Wolves will end up. I think this is going to start to be the dismantling of Wolves. Southampton is also a shoo-in for me to go. And we talked about it earlier. I think Everton might be the other one to go too, but I also don't see a lot of positive in Leicester. My three is Everton, Wolves, and Southampton.
So you're keeping it the same?
Yes.
In that order?
I guess, no, I think Everton will
Sorry, like 18th.
Go a little more.
Do you think Everton... Sorry, so give me your bottom three.
18th will go Wolves.
Okay.
19th will go Everton. 20th will go Southampton. Which may seem boring now, because that's almost exactly what it is. But I just see more positive things from the other sides. I don't see West Ham going down. Bournemouth might be a shock to not go down too. Forest, I think, is better than their points suggest. And I think Leeds and Leicester are just a little too far ahead. But yeah, I don't know. There's so much that can go into it. And Bournemouth might be the surprise to me. Or in my list that isn't going, but I just sometimes see better flashes of football from them than I do from Wolves especially. But Everton's been mediocre, below mediocre.
That's all fair. So I'm just actually looking now. I was curious kind of what the last day of the season looks like for the relegation battle. So Leicester and West Ham do play each other on the last day of the season. Everton and Bournemouth also play each other.
Oh.
Leeds play Spurs. Southampton playing Liverpool. Who was the other team? Forest play Crystal Palace. I don't think that was all the teams we kind of threw in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, man.
Who does Wolves play?
Oh, that was the other one. Wolves play Arsenal.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Southampton is certainly out.
Actually, you want to know a little wrinkle for the last game of the season? If the title race comes down to it.
Oh, no.
Brentford versus City. Last game of the season.
Ooh.
At Brentford. That's interesting, actually. Looking at it now, like the way Brentford have played, they've already beat City this season. The way they play against top 6 teams, like I read out before, like that's a big one. That's a very interesting match there. Well, will be May 28th. That one is. So anyway, my bottom 3. Unfortunately, I think Southampton are toast. I think I appreciate the approach they went this season in trying to get young players. Like they got a lot of good ones too. I enjoy watching them play, to be honest, and I appreciate what they've done. Like I said, so I think they're just done. They're just done. Everton, 19th.
Yeah,
I think Everton is toast. Players just aren't performing.
Yeah,
they have a fantastic. Like, you look at some of the players they have. England's number 1 in Jordan Pickford. For some reason, just doesn't show up for Everton, but never has lost his spot with England. Who else we got here? Calvert-Lewin, missing him for most of the season has sucked, but he did play the other day, so see if he can make any impact. Iwobi's been a nice surprise for him this season. He's actually having a really good year.
Yeah.
So... Connor Cody, like I actually don't mind the 2 centre backs. Like there's a lot of players on that team I quite like, but I don't like the manager. Frank Lampard is the difference for me, and unless Everton sack Frank Lampard, they're going down this season.
I don't get how he's still there.
I don't get how he got a job.
Yeah.
What has Frank Lampard accomplished as a manager? He almost got Derby promoted. Period. End sentence. That is all Frank Lampard has done as a manager. And he's not good enough to manage in the Premier League. Earn your stripes. There is no shame of going through the Football League. Look at what Graham Potter's done. He was part of the Ghanaian women's program at one point.
Wow.
Now he's the manager of one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's just, he doesn't do it for me. And then my other one, West Ham are staying up. Leicester will stay up. Leeds will stay up. They've got enough quality. I think Forest goes down. I think Bournemouth stay up. Did you see they got a new owner?
Oh, really?
The owner of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Stop.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure that's who he is. So if I'm wrong, let me know. But I will tell you now, for all you people who don't know the owner of the Vegas Golden Knights, which is an NHL expansion team, by the way. They've been around for, what, 4 or 5 years, maybe? Maybe not even that long.
Since
4
2016.
years. So, 2016?
Yeah, because that would have been, or they started in 2016. They went to Stanley Cup final in 2017. Oh, no, maybe it's the...
That was the first year, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
He's very aggressive. He loves to try and win. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
He loves to try and win, and he's already announced that Bournemouth are going to look for a new stadium. The Vitality Stadium's got a lot of character. Is it up to Premier League standards? I'm not sure. So if Bournemouth can find a way to stay up this season, they got a bright future, and I'm excited for that club to get that after the way they've come through the Football League. So my bottom 3: Southampton, Everton, and unfortunately Nottingham Forest. But I could see Forest kind of doing, I think it was Burnley that did this a few years ago, was we're kind of good enough but fell down, but then we're too good for the championship. It came back up again,
Right.
and then found some sustainability.
So there'll be
I think that's kind of what they'll do. The unfortunate thing for them is that they've spent so much money. So they'll be interesting. I love Steve Cooper. I think he's a fantastic manager. For me, I don't know about you, Brett, but sometimes when I think of the Premier League, there's certain teams that I think about. Like I've seen some of this online. Like there's a perfect Premier League where there's 20 teams, and those are the 20 teams that you think of when you think of the Premiership. Nottingham Forest are one of those teams for me.
Mm-hmm.
Leeds were one of them. I'm trying to think. Portsmouth, honestly, were one of them for me. Bolton Wanderers, anybody? Yeah. Blackburn. There's a bunch of teams that are kind of around now, outside of the big guns, but Forest is one of them, so I could see them kind of bouncing back eventually. So that's my 3. Southampton, not West Ham. Holy, could you imagine?
Yeah.
They would lose so much money on the value of Declan Rice.
Oh, my
His value
goodness,
would
yes.
drop so much because they wouldn't have any choice but to sell him, so they would just get handcuffed. So Southampton, Everton, Nottingham Forest.
I'm going to change mine, too.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to take out Everton, and I'm going to stick to my guns this year. I'm going to have to.
Bournemouth?
No.
Forest?
No.
Leicester. Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Southampton, I'll go Wolves and Leicester.
Okay, so the only way my opinion changes, which would become Wolves, is if Cunha's coming. Sounds like he's coming. But I still think they need an out-and-out striker as well. So I think they've got to address that a little bit more. They do have the in with Mendes as the guy who just manages to get all these players to Wolves somehow.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that could help them out. But if it doesn't, maybe they're the team. So it's between Forest and Wolves. So, okay. There's a few more questions. What's our time at, Brett? I don't want to spend...
We're at an hour.
We're at an hour?
We're at an hour.
Minus 10 minutes. So we've got a couple of quick ones. Okay, I'll give you some
rapid fire?
Somewhat. Erling Haaland, how many goals does he finish with?
I think he breaks a record. I think he goes 35.
35.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think he does it?
Well, he's at 21 right now.
Yeah.
Which is outrageous. And do you know what? To his credit, Harry Kane's only 6 goals behind him. Sorry. 6.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Harry Kane's right there.
So I'm going to do quick maths before we move on here. So he has 21 goals in 15 games. So that's 1.4 goals per game. Multiply that by, there's 38 games in the league, whatever. He's on pace for 53, technically.
All right. Well, that's something. Who makes the final Champions League spot? I'm going to assume Arsenal, City both make it. So who's 3rd and 4th for you, I guess, is a better question.
I have United for sure. I think they're very good this year and going up. Probably, I don't think Liverpool will be able to make it. I think they're going to be too flip-floppy, and I think Newcastle's going to just slip under. I guess by default, it would have to be Tottenham.
Okay, so you're going to go Arsenal, City, United, Tottenham.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, I guess I didn't ask you who was going to win the league, but I'm going to go Arsenal, City, United, Newcastle. That's my top 4. Yeah.
Really?
Do you know United haven't lost back-to-back games since the first 2 games of the season? Let's
Really?
not get spoke about enough how much of a good job Ten Hag has done
Mm-hmm.
in the last little bit with all the drama of Ronaldo and just everything that's kind of gone on, the Glazers stuff. Like, it's kind of in absolute shambles. But quietly, actually on the pitch, Manchester United have been very, very good.
And 5 clean sheets in the last couple of home
They
games.
haven't conceded a goal since coming back from the World Cup.
And they haven't conceded a goal with both Varane and Casemiro on the pitch.
There you go.
Ever heard of them?
Yeah, they're pretty good. Here's one for you then. I know you wanted to ask this. Is Marcus Rashford the answer for United up front till the end of the season?
They need somebody else.
Okay.
They do need somebody else.
Is it within the club or do they need to buy
No,
someone?
they need to buy someone.
Okay.
They need to buy someone, but I think Marcus Rashford is becoming Marcus Rashford 2.0 here.
He is. It's been a really good redemption. I'm really happy to see him do what he's doing. Ronaldo
We're getting there.
to Al Nassr, I believe it is.
Yeah, something like that.
Good or bad for him? Yeah. Do you what? Just give me your thoughts briefly.
Good. Okay. Good for him-ish in regards to that he's getting paid.
Yes.
That's the only, and there's rumors today. I'm not. It hasn't been confirmed as far as I've seen yet that he's parted ways with Jorge Mendes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's some thing going on here, and somebody said to me that, how much money do you really need? And that's fair. I hear what you're saying, but he has kids. He has been very vocal.
He's setting up everything.
Exactly.
His kids are set up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he's been very vocal in the fact that he doesn't want his kids to grow up the same way he did, and he's setting them up for success. I think that's fair, and I think that's fine. I think it's an unfortunate and sad downfall that has come, and I think it's very tough to. I mean, heck, he said he's playing in South Africa yesterday, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of poor things going around it. I think it's sad. I don't think it's the end. I think he's going to end up in the MLS by summer, to be honest with you.
You think so?
But
How long is his contract? Or maybe
2 years.
Oh, really? Interesting.
But yeah.
So, I made a tweet that I'm kind of regretting a little bit. I just said money over everything, which is true to an extent, but my ambitions behind it were not a positive one, to say the truth. But with what you said, Brett, like, he's setting up his family.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody listening or watching to this show wouldn't do the same as him.
Right.
I have an interesting question, and I don't know if you have the answer for it. I don't know if I have the answer for it. What's the difference between this and David Beckham going to the Galaxy? The difference is obviously the age, and Beckham went in his prime. But Ronaldo said in his press conference yesterday, the day before, whenever it was, that he's doing this to try and grow the game of football. Saudi Arabia just had a massive win at the World Cup against Argentina. They literally had a national holiday about it.
Yeah.
I get it. He obviously went for the money. It's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he also went to try and help things in the game. And now he's the guy that helped grow football in Saudi Arabia when Xavi couldn't do it in Qatar, or like all the players that went to China and couldn't do it. Like, Ronaldo was able to do it in Saudi Arabia. I don't think it'll work because I don't think people want to live in Saudi Arabia. Like, people want to live in LA or Miami or Kansas, where he was linked to. Like, there's all these teams. So that's kind of my image on it, is that he's trying to build his legacy even more by building the legacy of Saudi Arabia, if that makes sense.
Yeah. My thing, or my opinion on how it's different, is the politics, the geopolitical system or whatever.
That's fair.
I just think there's a difference going to whatever America was under when David Beckham goes to LA. I think that was the Bush. Yeah, it must have been Bush. And whatever the regime is now in Saudi Arabia and what's going on in Saudi Arabia too.
That's true.
So I think that is more where people are sitting there. Plus, there's all the oil money and this and that and the other things. So
there's oil money in Edmonton.
Yeah,
I think. I don't know.
Shout out the Oilers.
Yeah. That's a good point. I guess I wasn't even bringing the politics into it. I was just trying to think from like a purely football perspective. But from that angle too, that's very fair. I got one more for you. And then if you have one, we can talk about that quickly too. If there's one player within the Premier League that gets moved in January, like a big name,
Okay.
who do you think it is? Mine's James Maddison.
In January?
I think Newcastle will buy him.
Really?
I think that's my play. I think if I'm Newcastle, I think you've got a lot, obviously going right for you. You've one loss this season, but they're not getting enough wins. For me, James Maddison can make that difference. Isaac hasn't worked out probably as well. I believe he's had some injuries or whatever, right? Like, he's just kind of that guy. But, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, he's currently injured right now. Few weeks to return.
I know
that's kind of like a very hard question just to answer on the spot, but that's the name that's just kind of ringing around in my head. I think that would work very well for Newcastle. I think do you know what? He's one of those signings where if you're a club like Newcastle, that we all know as supposedly the richest club in the world now.
Yeah.
With all the money they have.
Yeah.
But they've been very smart with the signings, and I think signing an Englishman who has experience and success in the league is big. The only difference would be does James Maddison want to leave Brendan Rodgers and Leicester? If I was all three parties, Leicester, Newcastle, and Maddison, I would want this to happen.
Yeah.
Because you're Leicester, you're like, where are you going? Like, you're not going anywhere fast. I know you think they're going to get relegated. I think they probably have a bit too much quality to get relegated still. The same argument I have with West Ham and even Leeds to that extent.
Yeah.
I just think that's the guy who gets moved.
So, okay. Here's my thinking. I have two. One is not as exciting, and the more realistic one, I guess, and it's not as exciting, especially because I'm going through Fabrizio Romano's Twitter right now, but I'm just trying to get ideas of who. But here's where I'm thinking. If it is James Maddison, I think Yuri Tielemans goes too. I think they just go, okay, fine, we wash our hands. We go, let's cut our losses here, get our money. If we're in the championship next year, we're in the championship. If we're here.
He made a request today, by the way.
Tielemans did?
Yeah,
Stop.
Yeah. So according to the Leicester Mercury, which I'm guessing is a newspaper.
So I can see it, and I think a lot of teams will be lining up for Yuri Tielemans as well, and it just would make sense. You just start not dismantling the team, but retooling. That's a fun word to use.
I think that's a good way to put it, retooling the team. What did you make of the second own goal Leicester scored against Liverpool?
Bro.
Match fixing or what? Where was Ivan Toney?
Yeah,
Wasn't he the one fixing the games?
For real. Somebody check his count here. There's something fishy going on. No, that was not good. That was the first one. That was an absolute farce of a goal. But
Crazy.
You're sitting here going, what are you thinking?
Yeah,
because there is. You thought you were a striker for a second, but
a great finish.
It was a fantastic finish, right-footed, right in the back. But actually, I think caught side netting. But
boy, oh boy,
I think you watch it back over and you see. I think Mo Salah was coming over the right shoulder, so he's a little. If he puts it this way, Salah might come and take. Either way, he was pooched. But I don't know what you're trying to do. Either way. My second one, my kind of not as fun one, so we won't spend much time on it, but Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I just think.
Are you sure?
Yeah, he's been playing well.
I know, and apparently Ten Hag has started to like him a little bit.
He did come out today saying that he's impressed with his work.
Quick one. Harry Maguire, January or the summer?
The summer.
Okay.
The summer, but he hasn't exactly been in favor. He had a good game yesterday, though.
He did.
The other day.
I want him to succeed.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap it up here. We're going to do another show tomorrow.
Yes.
We'll try and think of some stuff to talk about. Hopefully something happens. Yeah. FA Cup this weekend, actually. That's quite exciting.
Yeah.
Bolton aren't in the FA Cup anymore. I think we're out.
They were advertising Manchester United on the Oilers game the other day, and I got excited.
Oh, yeah, because FA Cup's on Sportsnet, not Fubo.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an issue. I don't know what it's like everywhere else, wherever you're listening from. I think a lot of our listeners are actually from the U.S. So if you're from the U.S., honestly, let me know what it's kind of like down there. How do you watch football? I believe it's NBC is the big one.
Yeah, but it's difficult because I go down there for I have family who lives down there, and whenever I go down, I try and watch. I can't. It's so difficult. Even trying pulling up Fubo too, I can't.
Do you want to know something crazy? So I had to go back to England. September, October, I can't remember where it was. and Bolton were playing.
Yeah.
So I have this Bolton playing League One for people who don't know. It's very difficult to watch them, but me and my dad pay for this subscription called iFollow. So basically, iFollow is for any teams lower than it's Championship, League One, League Two.
Cool.
And you can buy it for your specific team, and you get every single game unless it's like a nationally televised game, which is kind of the FA Cup for the most part, unless you play a big team. Unless you're not playing a big team, sorry. So anyway, I got back to England, and I go to put iFollow on, and I couldn't watch them. They didn't work. And it's like, it's not like this is a Canadian website. This is like .co.uk. I was like 30 minutes away from the stadium, and I couldn't watch it. Yeah, I should have just gone to the match, to be honest.
Yeah.
but yeah, I couldn't watch it.
Why? Because I know there's
out of region.
Out of region.
Yeah. So
but you can watch it here.
Yeah.
That's
so
in region.
Maybe I'm wrong, but it must be just like an abroad thing. Like you can only watch it if you're outside of the United Kingdom, which is outrageous, to be honest. Like, come on. So we managed to find it one way or another, and then just watch the match. So
but there's also that thing about they black out the matches, right? Because
but
they want you to
like
go.
League One matches are played every so often, but not very often because you obviously like goes down in tiers, right? I can't remember who we played. I might play like Peterborough or something. I can't remember. But yeah, it sucked. So yeah,
that's a shame.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll come back tomorrow. We'll talk about something, football, some relation. Maybe we'll ask some more questions. I know actually, if you're listening to this and you've got some questions, don't leave them on this video. Go all podcast, whatever. Go look at our TikTok, the 90th minute, and Waz has a video out there asking you to submit your questions. We already got a couple, but I wanted to kind of let them play up a little bit, and we'll ask as many as we can, answer as many as we can. And then we'll put them out on our socials again so your questions get answered. Because trust me, we read your comments. Good or bad. Some of you send me to bed crying at night, to be honest. So
And some of them laughing, crying.
Yeah, some of them are very good. And also, one other thing I want to start asking people to do is leave a review. Leave a review on the podcast. It is very appreciated. Caroline, Brett, and I, we all put in a lot of work. Everyone on the Sunday League Pundits, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes here, and it's be very appreciated to show that you listen to the show. I know our boy David. David always tweets me. David always tweets me. So thank you, David, and thank you everyone else for listening today, and we will see you tomorrow. The final match we're going to talk about is Chelsea versus Manchester City, with City going to Stamford Bridge for this one. Where we're looking is the over, and we're going to go a little above what it usually is. We're going to go over 3.5 goals in the match as our exclusive bet on this one.